All right, hello America, hello Virginia, hello Blue Ridge, hello the Society of American Foresters. I'm Jamie King and I'm the University Arborist at Virginia Tech. That may be new news to you. I've only been here about 11 months. This is the first time that the university has had an administrative arborist to steward the campus trees for you, for everyone else, and for the world. So today we're in Stadium Woods. I think you heard from Dr. John Seiler the story of Stadium Woods. It's an old growth forest on campus, and it's emblematic of the urban forest to me. It is very much a resource between a rock and a hard place. We've got the stadium on one side, and to the other side is private property, which is used for tailgating, for partying, for parking, for all sorts of different things. And people pass through this forest just as if it were part of the urban environment. Part of the implications of that are we have to manage these trees as though they are in an urban forest. This is an old growth forest that has different pressures on it that other forests do not. So it's again emblematic of the urban forest. And today we stopped at this tree because we noticed these incredibly beautiful orange mushrooms. I'm pretty sure jack-o'-lantern mushroom, which, if I'm correct in identifying, I'm an arborist, not a mycologist, it's a bioluminescent and poisonous mushroom. All right, so now we're on the other side of Stadium Woods at the stadium, and you'll see some brand new trees planted all in a row. So one of the first things I did when I got here to campus was there were some immature red maples planted in similar fashion here in front of the stadium. And they had been mulched inappropriately for so long. Mulch volcanoes, obvious things that I'm sure you all see across the whole place you work. Everywhere we are, we see mulch volcanoes. And I said, as we're determining what our priorities are here on campus, this is going to be one of them. We can't have these mulch volcanoes on a campus that's seen by where we train professionals and them to think that this is how we do things. So I got together with the grounds director for athletics, and we came up with a plan to replace those red maples with a tree that would tolerate the thin soil and also the hard pan that's underneath these. So during construction here at Lane Stadium, untold damage was done to the soil. And then someone hopeful planted a tree that is known for having surface roots on top of that pretty bad soil situation. And what did we get? Well, we got surface roots that were then covered with soil or mulch, and then more roots proliferated inside that mulch. And then what do? Well, we've got to replace the tree. Oftentimes we try an immature tree, sure, it may have some value. It's part of the urban forest. We try to protect as many of those as we can, but if it has a physical or health defect that cannot be remediated, we've got to think about what's next. That's part of the long-term planning that we've got to have for the whole campus. So one of the first projects we were able to turn around was replacement of those trees with these sweet gums. This is a fruitless variety that'll tolerate the soil conditions a little better and not be as problematic. So down here you'll see the new tree was planted appropriately. You can see the root collar is about at grade, and we've got some mulch on it that is not piled up against the stem, which is really great. That being said, this could be better. Really more than 2 to 3 inches of mulch is not necessarily good for the tree, but in a place so high profile as this, sometimes you have to make concessions and allow a more formal mulch pattern or shape that's desirable for aesthetic reasons. And as long as that doesn't affect the structure or the health of the tree, it's kind of a good compromise. All right, so now we're at Williams Hall, which is really close to Burris Hall. And behind me, you'll see an arborist doing what's called root pruning. So at this area, in this quad, there has been a tendency for students, staff, the public to, instead of staying on the pavement, they would cut across 2 sides of this quad, compacting the soil, seriously impacting the trees here. and also creating a maintenance problem. So one way that we've decided to deal with that is improve this site through development with new sidewalks that bisect each side of the quad, essentially putting sidewalks where people already have the desire to walk. So when we did that, we had to acknowledge, well, these trees are already here. How can we do that job without seriously impacting them? And the truth is we can't. To install the sidewalk, to do the improvement, we have to cut roots. But luckily in this quad we have maples which are a little more tolerant of that than other species. So in working really closely with the landscape architect, we were able to plan the sidewalks as far away from each side of each tree. So we split the difference to spread the load of the root cutting. And also we budgeted to have those roots pruned. He's uncovering the roots down to 18 inches with compressed air, exposing those roots and then pruning them there. So after the project, those roots can then sprout out and create new root mat. Versus if we had let loose a man with an excavator in there, he would have pulled the roots up, torn them, and allowed them to be vulnerable to decay. So what's the flip side to development? Well, sometimes we lose trees too. So this tree, while they were designing the sidewalks, fell into the path that the new sidewalk was going to take, so we couldn't do any root pruning to attempt to protect it or preserve it. But that actually worked out okay. This tree had some structural problems and decay that limited its life already, so sacrificing this tree to protect another certainly made sense. All right, so now we're at the duck pond, really close to Solitude. And it's early autumn, so you can see behind me the walnut is just starting to cast its leaves. And the duck pond is very much like a large park in the urban center of Virginia Tech, which gives us the ability to have a lot of large trees. And that's kind of the basis for urban forestry, is we like to provide an urban canopy that provides all of the ecological, social, and economic benefits that we need as society. And luckily we have a lot of trees here at the duck pond, a lot of room for new trees, and that stands in contrast to the more urbanized part of campus, like where we were at Williams Quad. Those trees are confined a little more. There's less room to replant, so preservation there is a whole lot more stringent, more important than here in like a park-like environment where we can regenerate canopy easier with proper planning. And planning's a large part of urban forestry. Coming into this job cold, people had thought about succession and being able to provide trees for future generations, but there was no programmatic approach to preserve what we have, protect the trees that we are already in the landscape, but also assess the trees, the population, so we know what we need, and then actually budget and plan the planting to perpetuate that canopy. So I've begun working on an urban forest master plan that details out what we have, what we want, and then how we're actually going to get there. Currently, the canopy on campus, including large green spaces like the duck pond, is only 14.7%, and that is way lower than urban environments in our region. And generally we shoot for that 40%. That may not be possible on campus. It's a smaller environment than larger cities, but we know we can have more and better trees. It's just trying to figure out how to get there. All right, so we're still at the duck pond, and we're next to the infamous willow that was removed before my time here as the arborist. I don't know the full story. Generally, salix on campus are looking really bad. They don't handle decay very well, and I'm sure that this tree, when they made the call to remove it, I'm glad they were able to get it out of the way before somebody got hurt. That being said, it's an important tree. It has a story. It's touched many lives. A lot of you probably remember it. So in that process, Dr. Seiler was actually able to get a cutting rooted from this tree and clone it. And it's been enough years now, he's propagated that. He has it in a greenhouse, and we're planning to replace it. That being said, this being really close to Solitude, which is a part of the National Historic Register, we have to work through the Department of Historic Resources to see how replacing this tree will impact the general vicinity around the historic structure. That's just one way that urban forestry is a little different from traditional forestry. While we all work with people, urban forestry is very much an administrative and urban planning. We do the assessments earlier. I was talking about our urban canopy. We do the long-term planning, but also we have to meet with stakeholders regularly. We have to work with different departments. We have to enforce tree policy. All of these different things that really bring it into the public administration realm of government. Sometimes it's really challenging, but luckily, and speaking to this group, I can say we all know trees are important, and part of what makes it really rewarding for me, and I think other urban foresters, is sometimes when you're the only person in the room standing up for trees, you are heard a little better. When you have a passion for what you do, people hear that. They can hear when you're earnest about what we have to do to protect trees or expand our urban canopy. They hear it and they believe it, and that's a lot of fun. It's really rewarding, and frankly, it's very important work. All right, so again, Jamie King, University Arborist. Thank you for joining me today. I wish we were in person, but we can't do that right now. When we can, if you ever want a tour or just want to chat when you're on campus, look me up. My address is campusarborist@vt.edu. I'd love to show you a tree.